Cliff Richard's story begins far from the bright lights of British pop culture in Lucknow, British India, where he was born, Harry Roger Webb, on October 14, 1940. His early life unfolded against a backdrop of global change as the British Empire was beginning to unravel. In 1948, following India's independence, Cliff's family returned to England and settled in Cheshunt, Hertfordshire. Life there was modest and often difficult, with financial struggles shaping his childhood. Yet within those humble surroundings, a spark was quietly forming. Young Harry was drawn to music with an intensity that set him apart. Radios became windows to another world, especially when American rock and roll poured through the speakers. Artists like Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly, and Little Richard ignited something powerful inside him, offering escape, inspiration, and a sense of possibility that would soon redefine his destiny. Becoming Britain's first rock star, by the late 1950s, Harry Webb reinvented himself as Cliff Richard, a name chosen to suggest strength, confidence, and a nod to his idol, Little Richard. In 1958, alongside his band The Drifters, later renamed The Shadows, Cliff released Move It. The song exploded onto the British charts and is now widely regarded as the first true British rock and roll record. Its success marked a cultural turning point. Cliff's raw energy, good looks, and guitar-driven sound captured the imagination of post-war youth eager for something bold and new. Britain finally had its own rock star. Cliff wasn't just performing music, he was symbolizing freedom and youthful rebellion in a country still rooted in tradition. Almost overnight, he became a household name, laying the groundwork for a British pop revolution that would soon sweep across the world. Fame, films, and a lasting presence. Throughout the 1960s, Cliff Richard dominated British entertainment with remarkable consistency. Hits like Living Doll, The Young Ones, Summer Holiday, and Bachelor Boy became cultural staples, while his starring roles in musical films expanded his appeal beyond music alone. Even as the Beatles and the wider British invasion transformed the global soundscape, Cliff remained relevant by staying true to his identity. Rather than competing directly, he evolved alongside the times. His presence was comforting yet exciting, familiar, but never outdated. Cliff's ability to connect with audiences of all ages made him more than a pop star. He became a trusted figure in British life. While many early rock artists faded, Cliff's adaptability ensured that his career didn't merely survive change, it thrived within it. Reinvention and spiritual grounding. As the music world shifted in the 1970s, Cliff Richard once again proved his resilience. Shedding the image of a teen idol, he embraced a more mature sound with songs like Devil Woman, We Don't Talk Anymore, and Wired for Sound. This era also marked a deeply personal transformation. Cliff's Christian faith became central to his life, influencing both his choices and creative direction. He stepped away from excess and cultivated an image built on discipline and integrity. Rather than limiting him, this commitment gave his career longevity and clarity. His Christmas releases and spiritually inspired music resonated with millions, reinforcing his reputation as an artist guided by values rather than trends. Cliff's journey showed that reinvention doesn't require abandoning principles. Sometimes it means embracing them more fully. Loss, responsibility, and emotional weight. Behind the success, Cliff Richard carried profound personal loss. In 1961, his father, Roger Webb, passed away at just 56, when Cliff was only 21 and newly famous. The loss deeply affected him, creating an emotional burden that shaped his future choices. Cliff later reflected that his father never lived to see the heights of his success, a fact that remained a quiet sorrow. With his father gone, Cliff felt an increased responsibility toward his mother and sisters, both emotionally and financially. Years later, his mother Dorothy's long battle with Alzheimer's disease brought another period of quiet heartbreak. Caring for her over a decade reinforced Cliff's sense of duty and sacrifice. These experiences grounded him, reminding him that fame never shields one from life's most difficult realities: love, sacrifice, and the cost of fame. Cliff Richard's personal life has often intrigued the public, particularly his decision never to marry. That choice, however, was shaped by painful sacrifice rather than detachment. In 1961, he ended a serious relationship with dancer Dilea Wicks, writing her a deeply emotional letter explaining that fame demanded more than he could give. The letter revealed a young man torn between love and calling. Over the years, Cliff experienced other romances, each reflecting his struggle to balance intimacy with responsibility. Relationships with figures such as Jackie Irving and actress Una Stubbs hinted at possibilities that ultimately slipped away. Fame, family duty, and self-awareness repeatedly outweighed personal desire. Cliff's story is not one of emotional absence, but of restraint, a life shaped by choices that favored longevity and service over immediate happiness. A public romance and quiet realization. Perhaps the most widely discussed relationship in Cliff Richard's life was his romance with tennis champion Sue Barker in the early 1980s. Their relationship captivated the public, fueled by visible affection and open admiration. For a moment, it seemed Cliff might finally settle down. He spoke candidly about marriage and the possibility of family life, allowing fans a rare glimpse into his private hopes. Yet, with time came clarity. Cliff later admitted that while the love was real, it wasn't quite enough to sustain a lifelong commitment. The relationship ended respectfully, with mutual admiration intact. Their story reflected Cliff's emotional honesty, his willingness to step back rather than move forward without certainty. It was another example of how deeply he weighed life's decisions, even when the world was watching. Endurance, recognition, and legacy. Over the decades, Cliff Richard achieved milestones unmatched in British music history. With more than 250 million records sold worldwide, he became one of the best-selling artists of all time. He remains the only performer to have #1 singles across 5 consecutive decades. His contributions were formally recognized with an OBE in 1980 and a knighthood in 1995, making him the first rock star to receive such an honor. These awards acknowledge not only his musical impact, but also his dedication to charitable causes and public service. Even during challenging moments later in life, Cliff maintained dignity and resilience, earning widespread respect. His career stands as a testament to perseverance, adaptability, and the power of staying true to oneself through changing times. Finally, speaking from the heart. About Elvis. For years, Cliff Richard spoke sparingly about Elvis Presley, despite being frequently labeled Britain's answer to the king of rock and roll. Recently, however, Cliff opened up with rare emotional honesty. He described the first time he heard Elvis's voice as a life-altering moment, one that awakened his desire to perform. Elvis, Cliff said, didn't just inspire his music, he unlocked a sense of purpose. Yet the constant comparisons were both flattering and heavy, pushing Cliff to find his own identity while walking a path Elvis helped create. One lingering regret remains, never meeting Elvis in person. Elvis's death in 1977 affected Cliff deeply, feeling like the loss of a spiritual brother. Their shared faith and vulnerability formed a bond across distance and time. One legend. Honoring another. In breaking his silence about Elvis Presley, Cliff Richard offered fans something deeply human, a reminder that even legends are shaped by those they admire. His words were not about competition or legacy, but gratitude. Elvis represented freedom, courage, and spiritual searching, qualities Cliff recognized in himself. By finally speaking openly, Cliff didn't just honor Elvis's influence. He revealed the emotional foundation of his own remarkable journey. It was one icon acknowledging another, not from a place of comparison, but connection. Cliff Richard's story, like Elvis's, is ultimately about impact, how music changes lives, including the lives of those who create it. In sharing his truth, Cliff reminds us that greatness is rarely born alone. It is inspired, nurtured, and passed on.